In a world where international relations are often shaped by predictable alliances and carefully scripted conversations, few moments truly shake the global stage. But recently, one such moment left political observers stunned. A phone call, unexpected, unannounced, and unprecedented, between Burkina Faso's young revolutionary leader, Ibrahim Traoré, and Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has now become the center of heated debates across the Caribbean, Africa, and beyond. For many Jamaicans, the news was nothing short of shocking. Why would a West African military leader, thousands of miles away, reach out so directly to Jamaica's head of government? What exactly was said during this surprising exchange? And perhaps most importantly, what does this mean for Jamaica's role in global politics? The event has been described by some as a turning point in South-South relations, while others see it as a strategic move by Traoré, who has increasingly positioned himself as the voice of Africa's youth and anti-colonial resistance. Meanwhile, critics in Kingston argue that this is a distraction from Jamaica's pressing domestic challenges, while others believe it signals an opportunity for the Caribbean to forge stronger ties with Africa. In today's report, we'll carefully unpack this unexpected diplomatic moment, who the players are, why this call happened, how it has been received, and what ripple effects it might carry for Jamaica, Africa, and the wider international community. To understand the weight of this unexpected phone call, it's important to first look at the man on the other end of the line, Ibrahim Traoré, the young leader of Burkina Faso. Rising to power in September 2022, after a dramatic military takeover, Traoré quickly became the world's youngest head of state at just 34 years old. His sudden emergence on the political stage was not only a local event, but a continental moment that drew attention from across Africa and beyond. Burkina Faso, a landlocked West African nation of about 22 million people, has faced years of instability marked by terrorist insurgencies, poverty, and political turbulence. When Traoré seized power, he framed his leadership as a response to these crises, promising security, sovereignty, and a rejection of foreign interference. In his speeches and actions, he positioned himself as part of a new generation of African leaders determined to free their countries from the lingering shadow of colonialism and external influence. What has made Traoré particularly controversial is his bold rhetoric against Western powers, especially France, the former colonial authority in Burkina Faso. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has strengthened ties with non-Western allies, including Russia, while distancing itself from long-standing Western partnerships. To some, this shift is a necessary move toward independence and dignity. To others, it risks isolating Burkina Faso and destabilizing its already fragile situation. Yet, despite the criticisms, Traoré has gained a reputation as a symbol of youthful defiance. Across much of Africa, especially among younger generations, he is celebrated for his courage to challenge the status quo. His image, often in military fatigues, speaking passionately about sovereignty, has gone viral across social media platforms. For many, he is not just a leader of Burkina Faso, but a voice for a wider African resistance. This makes his outreach beyond Africa, including to leaders as far away as Jamaica, especially noteworthy. It suggests that Traoré's ambitions may not be confined to West Africa, but part of a broader strategy to build solidarity among nations that share histories of colonization and struggle. On the other side of the surprising phone call stood Andrew Holness, the long-serving Prime Minister of Jamaica. Born in 1972 in Spanish Town, Holness represents a very different political trajectory compared to his Burkinabe counterpart. While Ibrahim Traoré rose to power through a military coup, Holness climbed the ranks through Jamaica's democratic system. His leadership style reflects pragmatism, stability, and an emphasis on economic reform. Holness first became Prime Minister in 2011, making history as Jamaica's youngest ever head of government at the age of 39. Although his initial tenure was short, he returned to office in 2016 and has since maintained a strong grip on Jamaican politics as leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, JLP. Economically, Holness has positioned himself as a reformer. Under his leadership, Jamaica has worked to reduce debt, stabilize its economy, and attract investment. While critics argue that these reforms often come with austerity measures that weigh heavily on ordinary Jamaicans, his supporters praise him for bringing fiscal discipline and modernizing Jamaica's global image. Diplomatically, Holness has walked a careful line. Jamaica, as a small Caribbean nation, depends heavily on relationships with larger powers such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and international financial institutions. Yet Holness has also shown interest in strengthening ties with developing nations, particularly within the Caribbean community, CARICOM, and with partners across Africa. One of the defining themes of Holness's leadership has been Jamaica's ongoing debate about its post-colonial identity. He has openly supported Jamaica's transition to a republic, signaling a move away from its symbolic ties to the British monarchy. This position has resonated strongly with many Jamaicans who want their nation to fully embrace independence and redefine its global role. Holness, therefore, is seen both as a modernizer and as a cautious pragmatist. Unlike Traoré's fiery revolutionary persona, Holness tends to favor measured diplomacy and calculated reforms. This stark contrast between the two leaders, the young soldier turned revolutionary and the seasoned democratic reformer, sets the stage for why their phone call seems so unexpected and captured international attention. Diplomatic calls between world leaders are nothing unusual. They happen every day, often arranged weeks in advance, carefully coordinated by teams of advisors, and summarized in brief official statements. But what made this particular exchange between Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso and Andrew Holness of Jamaica stand out was not only its timing, but also its complete element of surprise. According to reports from Kingston, the call was not publicly scheduled, nor was it immediately disclosed by either government. It was only after news began circulating on regional outlets that both Burkina Faso and Jamaica confirmed that the conversation had indeed taken place. This lack of prior announcement fueled speculation, with observers wondering what was so urgent or so strategic that Traoré felt compelled to reach out directly to Jamaica's prime minister. Sources close to the matter suggest that the call lasted longer than a typical courtesy exchange. Rather than a few minutes of polite diplomatic formalities, the two leaders reportedly discussed issues of mutual interest, including post-colonial cooperation, trade opportunities, and international solidarity among developing nations. While neither side released a full transcript, both governments acknowledged that the discussion touched on themes of sovereignty, self-determination, and the challenges faced by nations navigating global power imbalances. For Jamaica, the call was unprecedented. Although the Caribbean maintains ties with Africa through cultural, historical, and diplomatic channels, direct bilateral engagement with a leader like Ibrahim Traoré is rare. Typically, Jamaica's foreign policy agenda is dominated by relations with the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and its CARICOM partners. The sudden attention from a figure like Traoré not only broke the routine, but also forced Jamaica into a global spotlight it had not anticipated. For Traoré, the move appears consistent with his broader strategy of building alliances outside the traditional Western sphere of influence. By reaching out to Jamaica, a nation with its own colonial past, a vocal push toward republicanism, and a population deeply connected to African heritage, Traoré sent a symbolic message. The gesture suggested that his vision of sovereignty is not limited to Africa alone, but extends across the diaspora, linking countries and peoples who share histories of resistance and resilience. Unsurprisingly, the secrecy surrounding the call added to its dramatic impact. Some critics questioned whether Jamaica was caught off guard, while others speculated that Kingston may have been hesitant to publicize the conversation due to Jamaica's delicate diplomatic balancing act with the United States and Europe. On social media, Jamaicans reacted with shock, humor, and curiosity, as hashtags mentioning both leaders trended regionally. What was once a quiet diplomatic exchange has now grown into a subject of intense debate. Was this simply a symbolic gesture of solidarity, or does it mark the beginning of a deeper, more strategic relationship between Africa and the Caribbean? For Traoré, the call reinforced his identity as a bold, unconventional leader willing to cross borders, geographic and political, and for the world, it highlighted a larger truth. In today's shifting global order, Even small states and young leaders can reshape narratives with a single gesture. One thing is clear, this event has placed both Jamaica and Burkina Faso in the global spotlight, reminding us that history is not only written in summit halls or by superpowers. Sometimes it begins with an unexpected call. So, what do you think? Is this the start of a new Afro-Caribbean partnership, or just a passing moment in global politics? Share your thoughts and stay tuned as we continue to follow this developing story.